Welcome to Postscript from Faithbridge Church. Here we hope to answer your questions and help you dig deeper into the message by sitting down with the teacher of the day.
Hi, and welcome to Postscript. I'm Luann Riley, Grow Group Director, and I'm here with Pastor Dan Slagle, and we just talked about part 2 of Who is Jesus? A very challenging message. As I said before the cameras were rolling, there were times that I just felt weepy to your story, especially of the diary entry, and just such a great message. As I was listening to it, I was thinking about people who might not be as familiar with the Old Testament. Briefly, quickly as you can, just walk us through, why was Peter looking for a different kind of Messiah?
Sure. Well, we learn in the Old Testament that God had formed the nation of Israel to be His chosen people, and told them many, many years ahead of time that if you obey me, all will go well. If you disobey me, you'll be scattered all over the world. Your nation will be conquered. Well, the Israelites chose to disobey, and in the year 587 BC, the Babylonians came and destroyed Israel. They were only the first of several conquering nations that would occupy that patch of land we call Israel. Well, all throughout their occupation, God sent prophets, Isaiah and Jeremiah and Micah and all the rest, not only to warn them of what was coming, but also to comfort them that one day God would raise up a Messiah to restore Israel. And so the Israelites of Jesus and Peter's day understood that promise strictly in military political terms. They had no concept really of the kingdom that Jesus was ushering in. And so when He began to talk about things other than overthrowing the Romans or reestablishing the Davidic monarchy, they were clueless about that. So Peter was understandably confused.
Okay, so we talked about denying yourself, taking up the cross. When you hear people a lot of times say, this is my cross to bear, this marriage is my cross to bear, how is that different from what you're speaking to in this message?
Sure. It never ceases to amaze me how we take something as precious and something as serious as the cross, and we reduce it to a catchphrase like, this whatever is my cross to bear. Typically, when someone uses it in a cliche fashion, they are simply referring to, this is a difficult situation for me. I can't do anything about it. I wish it were not so, and so I'm just going to have to endure, as best I can. That's not at all what Jesus was talking about. When Jesus talks about bearing the cross, and when He actually was nailed to the cross, His purpose was redemptive. It's all about the rescue of this world from its brokenness and from its sin. And while, yes, sometimes bearing our cross for Jesus' purposes is or can be exceedingly painful to the point that we just have to close our eyes and endure it, it's not a hopeless situation, and it's not a me-oriented situation. It's not just my hard time. No, I am carrying this cross for the sake of the world and for the glory of God and for His kingdom. And so I have even, to be perfectly frank, had to train myself to be careful about those references to the cross, to make sure that I don't lapse into that sort of silly, cliche way of speaking about something which really can ultimately make all the difference in the world for lost people.
Yes, it can. And so thank you for the message today. It was great. And thank you for joining us for Postscript. We'll see you back here next week for part 3 of Who is Jesus with Pastor Ken. And thank you for your questions.
Thanks for joining us for Postscript. Help us keep the podcast interactive by submitting your questions during the morning services. Learn more at faithbridge.org/postscript.